a motherfucking relay when we're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Here comes Danny Garcia wasting everybody's time talking his shit. Danny Garcia, a fight with me would be the biggest Crawford's been in. He's quoted as saying, "I'll fight anybody. Check my resume. I fought everybody. I fought the best junior welterweight. I fought the best at welterweight. You know I'll fight Crawford. I'll fight anybody. As long as the paperwork's right. As long as everything's right. Everything has to make sense. Let's get it on. I feel I have the perfect style to beat anybody at welterweight." Yeah, except the only guys you beat at welterweight are guys that really weren't welterweights. That and guys who've been fighting for too fucking long. But, I digress. Danny went on to say, "It would definitely be the biggest fight Crawford's ever been in. He's never been in the ring with somebody like me, so it'll be a bigger fight for him than it'll be a big fight for me. That's how I feel." Garcia doesn't think the 32-year-old Crawford would hesitate to accept their fight if it's offered to him. "I'm pretty sure he's hungry to fight a big name," Garcia said. "So I'm pretty sure he will." Now let me tell you one fucking thing about this story. Let me tell you what I don't like about this story and any other story like it.
What?
This story and these quotes are a massive waste of fucking time. These quotes aren't worth the time it took to type up this article. That's right. Because in all honesty,
ain't about nothing.
Danny Garcia ain't got no intention of fighting Terrence Crawford. You don't need me to tell you that. Look at the timeline. This guy last fought in April, right? April of this year. You had 8 months to see what's what with Terrence Crawford. You sat out the rest of the year. So obviously you couldn't have been interested in that guy. Carl Moretti, Todd Duboff, the people over there at Top Rank, they are alleging that they made an offer to you. And at the time that offer was made, I didn't see Danny Garcia or Angel Garcia deny that the offer was made. I didn't see much of anything those guys had to say at the time that story was circulating. I didn't see nothing. So here we are in 2019, end of the year. This guy's booked to fight somebody else. You already signed the contract to fight somebody else. But what do you do? What do you want to do? You want to talk about some Terrence Crawford. The only reason you're talking about him is because you're not going to fight him. This story, and any story like it from this kind of fighter, is a massive waste of fucking time.
They ain't gonna fight.
These guys, Danny Garcia, Angel Garcia, they don't keep the same energy depending on the situation. They can't do that. They're not consistent like that. You want to see what I'm talking about? You want to see what I'm talking about? I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Nappy hair. You walk around the USA Championship with nappy ass hair. You couldn't even afford a pig. Excuse the word, bro. Guy coming at us. Bro, you ain't got nothing, young. What he got? You got $1 million, bro? You want to bet $1 million that Danny whoop your ass all over? Move up to 47, young boy.
A few moments later.
Like, what is the problem here?
Right.
Like, why are you worrying about PBC fighters?
Well, he's saying, well,
I understand they saying 47 will step it up, but he's a WBO champion.
Right.
You got 100 top WBO ranked.
Right.
100 people you can pick out of. Fight your #1 contender.
Right.
Yeah, Terrence Crawford already fought his mandatory challenger, Mean Machine, Igor Skavaliauskas. He fought that guy. He already fought that guy.
You missed it?
We saw it not too long ago. Okay, now your boy, Danny Garcia, he's actually in those WBO rank standings, you understand? He's in there. And Terrence Crawford's looking at your boy. Not just because he's in those rank standings, but because it was your boy talking all that shit.
Wasn't it?
When Terrence Crawford was down there at 140, and you were talking that shit too. But now that he's here at 147, you are wondering, why is he looking at PBC fighters?
The fuck?
I'm sorry, I thought this was the sport of boxing. And I thought you guys were the guys saying that Crawford, he should go up there to 47. You're so fucking sure that Danny would beat him, remember? You were so fucking sure that you would have put $1 million on it. I mean, remember that? Those are your words. What is it about these guys that cannot be held accountable for the words that come out of their mouth? This is what I mean when I say that this kind of a story, these kinds of quotes, it's all just a massive waste of time. A massive waste of time for the media and a massive waste of time for the boxing fans that read these articles. Because it's their intention to use the smoke, use these mirrors, to get the fans talking about what could be Crawford versus Garcia, when in reality, they just want you to pay attention long enough to watch Garcia pick another cherry. And then after that, do you think he's gonna fight fucking Crawford? This fucking guy that was in action in April, from April till now, it's been 8 fucking months. You had 8 fucking months to see about fighting Terrence Crawford. But Danny, much like a lot of PBC fighters, they got this fucking wallflower syndrome. What do I mean by wallflower? They're sitting on the wall, they don't want to get on the dance floor. Somebody else has to initiate it for them. They'll talk a lot of shit, They got a whole heap of shit to say, but really they're just playing the wall, and they're gonna stay wallflowers, waiting for somebody else to initiate the dance. That's what's going on. These fucking guys, they're all prima donnas. You know, they're all My Little Princess. They think they're Princess fucking Diana or something. You know, Danny Garcia considers himself this massive fucking name. Guy who's never been on pay-per-view once. His entire career. Never been on pay-per-view. But that's him. He's God's gift to the welterweight division. What these things really are, you know, what this really is a fighter and his father rationalizing reasons to not honor their word. Rationalizing reasons to avoid a title shot.
Yeah, break.
Because they don't like their odds in that fight. They never did. You had 8 fucking months to pursue a Terrence Crawford fight if you really felt you could beat him. What are you trying to convince me of? That you felt you were going to do better numbers fighting Adrian Granado, so that you feel you're going to do better numbers fighting Ivan fucking Redcack, okay? You set out for a reason. You didn't pursue that offer for a reason. Even if you guys thought that offer was smoke and mirrors, if you really wanted those problems, you would have followed through. But we all know Danny don't want nothing to do with no fucking Terrence Crawford. And his father just said as much. I mean, he's saying PBC, they got their own lane. Why is he worrying about PBC fighters? Maybe it's because guys like you told him they come up to 147.
Danny, whoop your ass all
But it is
over.
what it is. It's more the same bullshit from the same bullshitters. In other news, the unified heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua had this to say. He says, "I'd hate to vacate a belt. I know I can get it right back." An excerpt from the article reads, Joshua is not looking to vacate any of his belts, but he could be forced to drop either the WBO or the IBF if neither mandatory challenger is willing to step aside. The IBF, under their rules, do not allow step-aside deals, so it's logically that Usyk would have to be the party to step aside. I would hate to have to vacate a belt because it's so hard to go around and collect all these belts. It's really difficult, and I've kept hold of them for so many years, Joshua told Sky Sports. So to have to vacate because of the boxing politics would be annoying. But there's things that are out of my control. If I do lose one, I know I'll be able to get it back. Time moves so fast, it's easy to forget things. So we just look forward into a new year and more challenges, more competition, and hopefully more memorable years to come. It's 2020 vision. Whoever's on the cards will get taken down. I just keep myself focused, and whoever wants it can get it. You know, from the moment that this whole Joshua vacating a title thing became a talking point, I myself viewed it as a non-issue. Because even if Anthony Joshua has to end up vacating one of those titles, it likely will be the WBO title. Because even if he does vacate it, it's still within arm's reach. I've said this before. That if the Usyk people, they don't want to step aside, they want their title shot, or at minimum, they want that title to become vacant so that it can be on the line in what could be a Derek Chisora fight, well, that's a non-issue because both Derek Chisora and Usyk, they're in bed with Matchroom, more or less, and that puts that title within Anthony Joshua's grasp. So even if he does vacate it, in all likelihood, he will get the chance to get it back. You hypothesize that perhaps a resolution between the IBF and the WBO and Team Joshua, you hypothesize that perhaps a resolution cannot be reached and the WBO title becomes vacant. That sets up a potential payday, yet another big payday for Anthony Joshua. What do I mean? I'll tell you what I mean. That title ends up on the line in what could be Usyk versus Chisora. And regardless of who wins that fight, whether it's Usyk or Chisora, Anthony Joshua challenging the winner of that fight to get that belt back will
Make for a big fight.
in all likelihood result in a large domestic payday via Sky Sports box office over there in the UK, where they bill the fight as a pay-per-view. Just imagine that Chisora,
Comes WBO champion.
UK's own bad boy, a UK favorite, just imagine that by some chance he pulls it off, he upsets Usyk, the cruiserweight sweetheart turned heavyweight upstart. Just imagine he beats that guy. He finally becomes a champion, a world champion. The people in the UK are going to love it. And if Anthony Joshua challenges him to get that belt back, to unify with the two that he's already got, oh, I'm sure they'd pay to see it. Now, you put the shoe on the other foot, Usyk beats Derek Chisora, as many people are expecting him to. Let's say Usyk beats Chisora. Well, Usyk versus Joshua is a big fight in and of itself, and don't kid yourself, okay?
It's a big fucking fight.
The Ukrainian fans are gonna come out to support their boy. You think they won't? You think they won't pack the O2 or some arena over there in the UK to support their guy? Alexander Usyk? I mean, any way you slice it, whether Joshua keeps the belt and it's a non-issue, or he ends up vacating the belt and it ends up on the line for them, either way, it equates to the same thing. Big fights, big money for Anthony Joshua. So, I look at that as a non-issue. I wouldn't be surprised if the pecking order in 2020 ends up being Joshua versus Pulev towards the beginning of the year, then Joshua versus the winner of Usyk versus Chisora towards the end. That could very well be the way things break down in 2020 for Anthony Joshua. Now, as far as, potentially facing Deontay Wilder, we all know that conversation has resurfaced since Anthony Joshua got his belts back. It's all about the undisputed heavyweight championship all of a sudden, And Anthony Joshua talked about that he prefers to fight Deontay Wilder because, he's got the last brass ring. It's not a style mashup thing. It's a brass ring thing that he's got 3 of the 4 major titles. Wilder's got the last one, and he wants that year mark. He wants that belt. He wants to be the undisputed heavyweight champion. But in truth, I'm not holding my breath to see that fight next year. I'm not. In all actuality, we might see Deontay Wilder fight Tyson Fury 2 more times. Next year, it could happen that way. Those kinds of talks are happening. Those kinds of rumors, they are floating around. That it's not just a one-fight engagement we're looking at. But even if that weren't the case, there's always been a fundamental problem with the Joshua versus Wilder conversation that most people don't realize. Most people, they don't address it because they don't understand it.
What?
Deontay Wilder's people, they want that Joshua fight to be billed, if they want it at all, I should say, because sometimes, I don't even know. Okay, sometimes it just looks like an avenue for them to sell their guy without putting him in any immediate danger. Sometimes it seems that way. But let's hypothesize that these guys want the fight, and, how do they want the fight? Well, they want that fight to be a pay-per-view. In the traditional sense, a U.S. pay-per-view at a venue somewhere in the U.S., and therein lies a dilemma. Because in order for you to do it that way, you'd have to guarantee Anthony Joshua the same kind of money that DAZN is guaranteeing him. We're not talking about a promise. We're not talking about just an upside. We're talking about cash money, guaranteed cash money, that if you don't get nothing else, you're going to get that money. And Anthony Joshua comes with a very hefty price tag.
The cash cow.
I mean, the kind of guarantee you're going to have to give that guy for him to cross over to your side of things, it's going to have to be a sizable guarantee. Hell, it may have to be more than what DAZN is guaranteeing him, because you've got to incentivize it for him. You've got to give him that financial incentive to cross over to your side of things instead of staying on his.
That's how it works.
It's not dissimilar from what's going on with the offers that Eddie Hearn has been making Jermall Charlo, so that he might cross over to their side of things and fight Demetrius Andrade. Something to the tune of, I don't know, I'm hearing anything from 7 to 10 million, and you know, Jermall Charlo don't make that kind of money. He don't pull in those kinds of paydays. You think they're giving that guy that kind of money to fight the likes of a Brandon Adams?
No way.
Or a Dennis Hogan? Of course not. It's financial suicide. But if Eddie Hearn is making those kinds of sizable offers to him, it's because if you want the guy to cross over to your side of things, you've got to incentivize it for him financially. And that's what Eddie Hearn is doing. Well, the same is true in reverse. If the people over there at the PBC, if the people over there at Fox, if they want Joshua versus Wilder to be billed as a pay-per-view on their side of things, well, you've got to provide that financial incentive, and that's the problem. Anthony Joshua is guaranteed a lot of fucking money just by sitting right there where he is. There's a reason that when Wilder rejected the $100 million offer from DAZN, they didn't come back with a counter offer. I mean, you don't like the offer, you want to walk away from the table because you don't like what they're offering you. Okay, so why don't you come back with something better? They never did, though, did they?
Nope.
There's a reason for that. And this fundamental problem has always been in the background of this conversation, though many of the fans, regardless of what side they're on, they don't address it, they don't understand it, they don't realize it. And it's for this reason that, I'm not holding my breath to see those two guys lock horns next year. If it happens and I'm wrong, then fucking great. We get the fight that we've been waiting for. But in all actuality, I don't think it's that simple. And it's for that reason I don't imagine that it's going to happen next year. I don't. The only way that this fight comes off, and it comes off smoothly, is if Wilder comes off of the prima donna behavior, comes off of those ridiculous demands, and just accepts his role as the B side for the opportunity to become the A side. That's the only way it happens. And in well over a year's time, it's become increasingly difficult to deal with that guy. So I don't think it's going to be any easier next year. Just the facts. And just in keeping with the theme of, the PBC and what plans they may have for the future in 2020, Jermell Charlo, coming off his big win over Tony Harrison, getting his belt back, he addressed the possibility of unifications in the coming year, and he labeled them as just that, possibilities. That, he is a promoter, quote unquote, so he can talk about that kind of stuff, he can say that, but that there are other entities that are in charge of certain other elements.
Oh, we know.
I mean, I think about this fight, right? A fight between Jermell Charlo and Julian Williams, and I think to myself, this is a sensational fight. It's the best fight the division has to offer, in all honesty. But then I think about something that Jermell Charlo said in regards to a Harrison rubber match. And there is a precedence for there to be a third fight. There even is some demand. I've seen it. I've seen people saying that Harrison did enough to deserve a third fight. I think about that, and then I think about what Jermell Charlo himself said. Get that shit on pay-per-view. And that's just it. If you're thinking that fight belongs on pay-per-view, a Harrison rubber match, I can only imagine what you think about a Julian Williams fight. I fear that perhaps the PBC may try to put that fight on pay-per-view, and therein lies a dilemma. Therein lies a dilemma that, it's unique, because my opinion on the fight and my opinion on the fighters is that it's a great fight. I mean, I think it really does make for a crowd-pleasing, sensational fight. But is that enough to bill it as a pay-per-view? Because we know Fox and the PBC mean to stage about 4 to 5 pay-per-views per year. And this could be one of them in the coming year. But is there really an audience for that? I mean, you can get 2.2 million people to tune in to a broadcast on Fox because it doesn't cost them $75. So you can get that kind of viewership, that kind of interest when the fight is basically free. But you go thinking you can charge people $75 for that fight, and that number will dramatically shrink. And I fear that might be what they're trying to do. You count Wilder versus Fury 2 as one pay-per-view. Manny Pacquiao's next fight, whoever it's against, as 2 pay-per-views. Errol Spence's return to the ring as 3 pay-per-views.
That's 3.
And that still leaves you with at least 2 other pay-per-views because, well, Fox and the PBC mean to stage 4 or 5. Could be that if Manny and Errol fight 2 times in the coming year, that would then make up the 4th and 5th pay-per-views. Could be that way, or it could be that they try to pull a fast one on the fans and build J-Rock versus Charlo as a pay-per-view event. And I'm sorry, but I don't know that the demand is that great to see that fight to where you can get away with that. But, we won't know till we find out. So let's see if that's what they're trying to do. It's just a passing thought.